So the last session I think you already answered, saying that these days, so these days everybody needs therapy, and that's kind of like my view as well. But at a church setting, when should we start engaging the parents to start talking about mental health? Like what grades or what the how old what grades should we start talking about this topic at church?
Your question, what grade?
Yeah, what grades? Like how should do we start talking about mental health to parents in preschool or like upper elementary? When is a good time?
I'll start and then you guys can add a little bit more. So if it is a more of a younger age, as again, it's a developmental behavior issues, then you will know by behavior. So it's a younger age, so compared to the other group, they are very disruptive and then not be able to comply with group activities together. Still, you can address that issues because if they are having that issues at church, they will have that issues at school too. Right? I briefly mentioned in other group too, that some kids are really good with the structure and some kids are not able to do the structure following the instruction when things are changed or unstructured. Or they can do well in the worship, but they cannot be good well with playground. So we have to kind of see that how much of their behaviors are not functional or not be able to comply within the group activity, always needed to share. But that's the more of a developmental disorder, we'll notice the earlier. But if it is more of a mental health, that's kind of, we divided it a little bit in our clinical setting. It's more of a mental health disorder, for example, anxiety, depressions, and personality disorders, and so on. And that's the more of a upper elementary or middle school and high school. It will also show in the relationship. So those areas that we will not gonna ignore if you notice anything, because like Dr. Esther shared today, if this is more of a related to the emotional issues, it can associate it or can lead to self-harm or suicidal attempt. So we don't want it to ignore if more of an upper level, that if you notice anything, first of all, you will talk to the students first, but if it is continued and ongoing, immediate, with the parents or even ask or give them the referral for the parents to seek the help.
People who come to us, so I'm going to tell you the perspective of when they come to us for therapy or medication management, is because their function starts to be affected ongoing. So for school-age children, they start to struggle in school. They start to not get along with all of their siblings. They start to isolate themselves from friends. They don't really care about their academics. Parents are struggling with discipline or parenting. Those are the moments where we call that their function is declining. And then that's a good time to do that referral. The sooner it does get addressed, the sooner it does get resolved. Many times some parents, they're just, I know he can get straight A's, but he doesn't apply himself. And so we find out that the child does have ADHD because there is formal objective testing to find out as ADHD. So lo and behold, it is ADHD, it's totally treatable, and then they're on a trajectory to be much healthier for the rest of their school years, even up until college. Sometimes while they're coming, they thought it was ADHD, but it was something else. And only in the professional setting, we can find out everything else that's going on. Unfortunately, maybe it was just depression that they came, for, but we find out it's disorder A, B, and C. But that's okay, right? Because the sooner that we address A, B, and C all at once, earlier, then it's not going to haunt them when they become adults. One of my eldest patients was above 70 years old. And I asked her, when did our struggles begin? And it was elementary level. But she didn't get treatment until maybe age 40, right? So no wonder it's going all the way to 70. Her anxiety problems was just lifelong. And I was so sad for her that if she received treatment in that earlier years, then she wouldn't be my patient at age 70. So that's kind of like the thoughts that we have on our end as a practitioner. Thank you for that question.
Hello? I'm a Sunday school teacher, so I want to kind of like bring perspective from being a Sunday school teacher and a therapist. What Dr. Esther was sharing about presence and the personal like touch that the relationship you have with that one healthy, safe adult. Sometimes the behavior problems or the emotion problems, just having that one adult that's safe for them in the playground, whether it's in the playroom, wherever it is, helps the behavior and emotional symptoms go down. In that case, they don't need to have therapy. It's like more of an attachment, attention-seeking kind of thing. And you're like, oh, I have my students crazy, like throwing stuff on the floor, like crackers everywhere. But then once I started playing with them in the playground and giving them the one-on-one attention they weren't getting at home, they are just quiet and they listen better, and it's so much better. But even if we do give them that personal attention and do have that safe person, that behavior or emotion, like it doesn't change, or if it gets worse, then I think it's no matter what grade it is, like it's really important that they get help. I know even fourth graders that committed suicide, and that suicide, it's all different age groups. So I would refer them as soon as they can, if they don't change.
So one way that I've viewed mental health, maybe incorrectly, is that who needs a therapist when Jesus is my therapist, right? Or who needs a healer when God is a healer? So then what is the line between surrendering and maybe praying about it with God? And what is the line between seeking professional help?
That's a very good question.
Yeah. Can I overshare? Okay. That's what I used to think. I don't need therapy, I just hold on to Jesus. But I white knuckle throwing it, and I was really doing that, but it was actually detrimental to my faith because it was a mental health brain chemical issue. But I was thinking that, no, it's my lack of faith, right? Then I also treat people who have, religious trauma because of that, anxiety. And all you need is Jesus. Anxiety is a sin. God told you not to sin. And you're sinning by having anxiety, but she couldn't help it. And that now she just doesn't want to come to church or have anything to do with church, And for me personally, the reason I became a therapist was just, I'm going to fix this by myself or with my faith wasn't enough. And it made me not want to try anymore. My effort wasn't enough. And not that I didn't have saving faith, I did. But it was a health issue. Just like I wouldn't pray away just cancer, I would go receive treatment. Mental health, I feel like it's the same things. It's not just, sometimes like I said, there's some things I just need faith and hope versus a very neurochemical issue that needs to be treated.
I will also encourage you, if you do have a community in your church that who you are feeling safe to share some of the challenges or even perspectives of how Bible is speaking to you is always the very, very healthy way to grow in our faith and healthier. But also at the same time that we'll have to accept there's many ways that in our own upbringings in giving us some skewed point of view, the way even we are looking at the Bible or the way we are interpreting in our relationship with one another. But the therapy, and then again, professionals, we are trained how to identify that area and objectively sharing so that things that you yourself or within yourself may not recognize that we can provide, and that they will be quickly addressed or even get better even within your community or even your own quiet time that you are reading the Bible together. So I think it brings a little bit more different perspectives and helping you to understand about yourself and then to how to get better even from the where you are at. But if you are functional and you're doing it well, you don't have to, because that is not that cheap either, right? So, but I truly encourage if there's a community in our church that creating that space that our members and leaders can do that, then why not? Yes.
I'll give you a personal example. Jesus is my therapist all the time, but I know that there are times my thinking is incorrect. So no matter if Jesus is telling me, I'm going to resist it, because our human nature, our brain, majority of our thinking, perception, interpretation is incorrect. We call that cognitive distortions. And so here I am trying to hear from God. The way the word will be read or listened to, I will interpret it my way, with my own brain. So apart from speaking to another human being, it's very difficult to find out that's exactly what Jesus, my therapist, would tell me. So I came across a situation where I was in a relationship, back then, romantic, not right now, and it was becoming there was a conflict, but I could not share it with anybody at church, nobody, and I could not share it with my friends because they're going to take my side, right? So who am I going to share with? So I did ask God, week after week, tell me what to do, tell me how to think, and it was silent. It was silent. So I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to trust that you will speak through someone else. So I used my insurance and I went to go get psychotherapy. Went to somebody who doesn't know me and I don't know that person because I know a lot of people in the community. And it was a Jewish psychologist. How is a Jewish psychologist going to help me? But all he did was ask me a couple questions. I answered them. And the Lord spoke to me during that session. That psychologist, doctor has no idea that God was using him. And that's the general grace that we have from doctors and good experts out there. Right? You don't really need to have a Christian mechanic. You just have to have a mechanic who's really good to fix your car, right? So, in that way, after 2 sessions, I was resolved. My conflict was gone. Even though I had a commitment, I'll go to therapy as many weeks as it takes, but it only took 2 or 3 sessions. So that's my answer for you, that even if Jesus is that perfect therapist, we are not the perfect patient, for him. And so sometimes we just need someone else's assistance to journey with us.
Okay, one more question. Maybe. Then I'll ask the question. A student came to me and said she was having a conversation with AI. It makes her feel much better. when during the week. And so there's prevalence of AI. I heard that you can get an AI girlfriend nowadays, even then. So, but seriously, so there's AI, ChatGPT, whatever. I mean, many apps that purpose to help, especially teens. And so, where's your response to that, and what are the dangers?
I'll speak first about the dangers because one of my clients was going through getting attention from ChatGPT or Gemini, whichever it was, and asking for methods to die by suicide. And so it was getting serious that even now they're programming within that, if the word suicide is talked about, it will automatically generate, you need to go get help. So nowadays they're trying to get better at that. But this kid is so intelligent enough to ask in different ways to get the answer and responses that he needs. So that is the potential danger, to get ideas and be savvy. The parent was already very keen to put parental controls that she could read everything that's happening. And then, so I asked her, then how come you're not pausing and stopping that device? And something she said was so interesting. She's like, I need to see what he's thinking. Because if I do that, he's not going to share it with me. So I just want to know if there is danger and then intervene right away. So in her case, I supported her to leave it on because he was like constantly doing this, so that she got him the help and finally go to intensive outpatient treatment. So that answers that particular question. You guys want to chime in?
I feel like AI is also a tool, like a knife is a tool, you know, anything is a tool, right? If that person using the AI tool is a healthy person, AI is really helpful, you know, to answer some questions, it organizes it, it could be used in a healthy way. But if the person who's using this AI as a tool is an unhealthy person, then that the AI tool could actually be harmful, like just like a knife, right? So there's something called AI-induced psychosis. AI likes to agree with you and just validate you. So if you have very incorrect thinking, cognitive distortions, it might make it even worse to a point when you have psychosis. And until you take AI away from that person, they will continue to experience that psychosis or incorrect belief. So yes, AI could be a great tool if you're a healthy person. But if you are already unhealthy, using AI and depending on it too much can be very dangerous.
I think they already spoke about how to use or when could be the danger. The AI, we are in the generations where overflowing information. And then our young generation especially, they have this fear of not knowing. They want to know everything. Even I think some of us are doing that when people are talking. Let me check the ChatGPT first. Right? Why don't you Google that, right? So we even have this era that flowing information so much that not knowing is a fear factor for us right now. And then our young children are more even equipped how to prompt the asking of questions, how to ask or how to get the answer. And these days is more of a fighting the who asks better questions to get the better answer. But that is more of an information overflowing. But the insight that what we are having and related to our inner being and health is more of relationship, through the relationship. And the spirit is always touch base or meeting us in that insight, the space that we're only, not information. And sometimes we Christians these days, we become more of an informational Christians. We know the Bible verses and stories, but we don't have insight how God is having the relationship with us and meeting us and then moving that heart, the having, right? But another part then, we have to kind of go back a little bit more, one more questions. Why we allow our children to go to the ChatGPT to get answer? not to us. What did it happen that they have to go to the ChatGPT with these severe and serious questions about life and death through the machine? Not from us, not from the pastors, not from the leaders and teachers. We lost the relationship with our youngsters. We are focusing on so much on performance, what they are doing, what college they need to go to, what SAT score that they have to get, what future job that they have to get, while we are never interested in about how we are doing together as teachers, pastors, and parents. So we have to create a space that they have to come to us in any question, not being judged by us. So that they can come to us so that we can give the answer, or even creating an insight, not for the answer, but at least to develop the relationship before they go to all this information through machine and AI. These peer groups, they don't trust you anymore. They believe that you don't understand them. They think that you are too old. That's why they are going through the ChatGPT and peers to get the answer. But we all know they themselves cannot get the right answer because their experience and information is not enough for them. But the true question is how we miss our relationship that we allow them to go to the AI before coming to us.
What's really wonderful about church, what AI can't do, that church can do, is community. AI can't let you feel there's 3 other people in the circle with you, supporting you. That's one thing that only church can provide. Only our education ministry can provide. And as the moderator and the leaders and teachers, we can create that community where they feel safe to say anything, to talk about anything. And even if I don't have the answer like the way ChatGPT, to show them I know how to get that answer. Come back next week, let's do this again. Let's support one another again. That's definitely something AI can never do. That physical one-on-one experience in the room, it will never be able to do that. And so I find that hope of what Dr. Mijin is saying, it might not be happening at home, and while we're praying for the family or praying for the relationship between the student and their parent, that we can foster that and create that kind of relationship every time they come so that they want to come again and again and again.
Thank you so much. Let's take a